What might women dislike the most if they were to become men? My wife woke up mad one time because of a dream she had. She said in her dream she was a guy and she got mad because she couldn't figure out how to walk with her balls in the way. Edit. I find it very funny that a comment about my wife's balls has so many upvotes. I told her about this and her reply was, "It was so damn annoying. I had to walk like I shit my pants." Haha, yeah, classic problem I have, my massive nuts impeding my gait. Am I right, fellas? When I had my vasectomy done, I had to walk around my balls. At least that's how the guys at work described my strange gait for the next few days. I'm just picturing you swinging open a saloon door and waltzing in like the sheriff. The scrotum is such an inconvenient bag of sensitivity to have dangling between one's legs. I can't even count how many times I've accidentally hurt my sensitivity sac in my life, and I grew up with it. I can't even imagine how much trouble women would have if they suddenly have one. I worked in the hospital, and one patient was a young man with testicular cancer, and he'd had one testicle removed. I was helping him get out of bed after surgery, and he suddenly yelped, "Stop, I'm sitting on my ball. I only have one left." We held awkward eye contact for a beat, and the both laughed, cracked up laughing. I told him we could go as slow as he needed to save his single ball. There were a female writer who disguised herself as a guy for some time, I guess more than a year. And I tell you what, she hated a lot of things. She really hated how she was invisible to the other women, and how coldly people treated her. The book is Self-Made Man. Edit. She did commit suicide years later. I didn't mention because wasn't what OP asked. I read this like over a decade ago and really enjoyed it as a book. Found it very interested. I really remember the part where she talked about trimming her hair and mixing it with glue to create hair mixtures for her body. Interesting read, but it's also weird that it directly contradicts some of the other things people here are saying. For example, people talking about how hard it is to make friends. I thought in that book she joins a bowling group and is like immediately taken in as a friend. But again, I haven't read it in a long time. I've heard women comment that men make friends everywhere. When outgoing guys make small talk and find common interests with strangers, it is a thing. But those aren't often true friendships. A bowling league, for example, can get quite close. But often those are just friends in the context of the bowling league. I've been close with fellow male coworkers, but never really outside of that context at work. It's not for lack of trying. Usually it's just that we can never get schedules to line up, right? And we always talk about going to get a beer sometime after work, and before you know it, one of you is signing a going away card to give before the other one moves on from that job. You never talk again, maybe once or twice. Deeper male friendships are usually from childhood, or at least from many years. They transcend context. Not every man even has these. Those are the kinds of friendships that most men miss. People don't stay around their hometowns anymore. Third spaces are dying. Obligations pile up. We have plenty of acquaintances, but no friends. Hey man, did you already subscribe on me? You don't? Subscribe and press like faster. I love kids, they're fucking hilarious and always doing adorable stuff. But I'm always mindful of looking like a pedo when I laugh or smile at some kid just vibing or having fun in the wild. As a woman and mom that loves babies and kids, that has to suck so bad. I had a coworker whose husband was a stay-at-home dad. He's had people follow him around the park demanding to know what he's doing there. When he says he's with his daughter, they demand to talk to his mother to prove he's okay to be there. He's been told by playgroups that they're not comfortable with him being the one there, etc. Mate, I'm a single dad. Got custody of my 6-year-old 3 years ago. You get looked at like a weirdo for so many things. Parks and soft plays, etc. Being asked at places, "Where's mom?" Or "Dad's turn to babysit, is it?" Say, "Is it?" The worst was when I was looking for a part-time job that fits around school hours. I must have applied for about 50 and got told by some recruiters that the companies were looking for a mum to make money whilst kids at school. Motherfuckers, what do you think I'm trying to do? Edit. Thanks for the comments and advice. Luckily, I found myself a management job in retail and it's paying the bills for now. So my gym has childcare we can sign up for, but it's usually full, and one lady told me it's usually mostly empty on Tuesday and Thursday evenings because the adult in there is Ben. I don't know Ben, but I also don't know Stacy or Amanda, who usually run the busy time childcare hours. So one Tuesday afternoon, I drop my little kids off in the gym daycare, go to my class, and I come back to find Ben has taken over from Haley as her shift was over, and what I saw. Ben had my littlest kid in a baby carrier because he was too little to walk, strapped to his chest, while he was chasing my older kid around the room playing monsters. My oldest kid was like 3 and he was screaming the happiest screams because the monster was stomping around and chasing him. He was having the best time of his life. You know how women around 50 explain that they have become invisible? They say nobody is even nice, friendly, personal, wants to talk to them. That's how most men spend their entire lives. Magically, no one cares about your feelings. And don't even think about getting sick. It's very inconvenient for everyone else. And you'll be called a baby for staying in bed too much longer. I need a friend. I'm kind of depressed. Tough shit. My best friend is Jack Daniels. Talk to him. That or the gym. Lift until you're too tired to feel anything. Being constantly aware that you could be seen as a threat. I love kids, particularly babies. And kids and babies love me despite the fact that I'm a big bald dude with a beard. However, I'm also super conscious that moms can't be too careful. So anytime I'm in a store or something, I go out of my way to be as unimposing as possible. I'll go as far as to purposely avoid an aisle if I see a mom with her kid on it that I saw a few minutes earlier because I don't want her to think, is that guy following me? That last sentence is making me pause. I'm female and have often remarked to myself how many times I cross paths with the same people in the grocery as we peruse the aisles, never thought anything more of it. I've never worried about seeming creepy, but I can now see how that's something you as a guy might feel like you have concern yourself with. I'm having a moment in your shoes. It's a really weird experience. It's often talked about how women have to be hyper-vigilant of potential threats, but less talked about in the flip side is men often have to be hyper-vigilant of being perceived as a threat. Which is kind of tiring. It's so real as a dude in Target or the grocery store, constantly getting the little head turned back, quick clocking of you that women often do to monitor your location and actions. It's like, okay, well, she's clocked me 3 times, and obviously is concerned that I might be following her. I'll go to the dairy section and then come back to get chips later since she's going down that aisle. You can't just say, hey, I'm not a threat. You either have to leave that person's presence to make them feel safe, or actively do something noticeable that demonstrates you're harmless. And as a gay guy, the shopping experience is completely different depending on how I'm presenting, dressed, or if they hear my voice. Not saying either sex's side of the experience is worse, the guy side is just a weird position to be in sometimes. Having a prostate. Most Redditors are too young, of course, to appreciate this, but for most, alas, it will become clear. To amplify on this, because I was a little obscure, as men get older, many, and some younger sadly, start getting either A, swelling of the prostate some of the time, B, an infected prostate which can go with A and C, prostate cancer. All of these can be quite painful. Riding a bike can be even more painful. They can also play havoc with urination and, sadly, that thing sometimes when you are going to pee but your stream splits in 2 for some weird reason and just goes rogue in some unintended direction. Asking women out on a date, I don't mind making the first move, but it took me like a decade to become comfortable with it. Shit's not easy. Well, I mean, I'm bi, so I've been there. It's pretty intimidating. Extra spooky if you don't know for sure whether she's into women or not, and you have to pray you read the context clues, right? While I respect that you've had your own challenges, it absolutely is not the same as for men. Women automatically perceive men as a danger nuisance, and as soon as they see you coming from afar, they often put up walls and make sour faces to discourage any approach. Being a woman approaching other women is definitely not the same experience. There are some great YouTube videos of a woman who approaches 100 women and propositions them immediately versus a man who does the same with 100 different women. When the woman walks up to other women and asks for a romantic relationship or sex, the women are bemused, charmed, flattered, confused, speechless, or simply disinterested. While they turn her down, they do so compassionately and kindly. When the man walks up and asks for the same, well, I think you know how that went. Extremely hostile rejections with no kindness. Women have no idea how hostile other women are to men's advances. I don't entirely blame women for being a little hostile because men can be obnoxious and inappropriate, even borderline violent. But, justified or not, it is hostile. From seeing how people react to my partner when he's parenting, I'd get super annoyed that people just assumed I was terrible at it and deserved praise for barely the minimum. If anyone asked if I was babysitting my own children, I'd be very irritated. Oh hey, this is something I can respond to as someone who's transitioned roughly FTM. I don't blame women for it at all, but being seen as weird or a potential threat by random women really blows. I'm a friendly, extroverted autistic person, and what was once seen as funny, quirky girl behavior is now odd at best and creepy at worst. Also, the ass hair. Damn near planking over the toilet to take that morning wood pee. Trick of the trade. Pinch yourself somewhere, like on your arm, or dig a nail in if they're long enough. Basically, make yourself feel some physical pain. Boner go bye-bye. Trans man here. There is a special kind of loneliness to the way we interpret men's feelings. As a woman, my body language and facial expressions were read as dozens of emotions by the people I was with, and people reacted accordingly. Friends, family, even strangers would ask me if I was okay if I looked sad, or remark on how frustrating something was if I was frustrated. Hundreds of things like that. As a man, I get horny, angry, and neutral. Maybe dork, which is what people seem to call happy now. Hundreds of channels have been reduced to 3 or 4. And if I try to explain that this lack of nuance makes me feel lonely or frustrated or unnerved or surreal, people act like I'm mad. It makes me feel invisible. It makes me want to feel invisible. At least invisible isn't creepy. At least invisible isn't dangerous. I think if I had grown up this way, I wouldn't even know what I was feeling. Children have to be taught to label their feelings, taught to express them. We don't do that for men. Boys don't have a shot at growing up to express feelings in a healthy way, because everyone is so afraid of men's feelings they never even see the emotions in their bodies, on their faces, accurately. They never teach them the words. I've been on the other side. I know women do this to keep themselves safe. I remember the violence of certain men when you accuse them of feeling an emotion they feel is unacceptable. I used to think that rage was directed just at women, but now I see it as directed at sons. So many fathers use fear and shame and violence to police the same emotions in their boys that they will not acknowledge in themselves. This is the real tragedy of it. I thought patriarchy benefited men. It doesn't. I now know patriarchy exists to prop up certain men at the expense of all others. Get people to buy into a certain social order at the expense of being themselves, of being seen, of having real friends, of social connection. No wonder so many men kill themselves. They are asked to kill parts of themselves from the moment they're born. The amount of effort it takes to not be perceived as creep or perv or the lack of benefit of the doubt. One example happened just the other day. At the train station, sat by myself. No one else here yet as I'm early and it's a quiet station. I'm watching crap on my phone with my prescription sunglasses on. "Excuse me, what do you think you're doing?" I look up and some woman has stood staring at me. Huh? What? I'm confused as I've been pulled out of my little world. Why are you staring and were you taking photos? I want to see your phone. Huh? I look around and in front of me were 3 very young teens in thong bikinis squatting down waiting for the train, and I realize what the woman must have been thinking. I'm autistic and struggle with public confrontation at the best of times. All my rights to privacy go out the window now. If I argue, she will call the police. If I walk away, I look guilty. As the station is filling up, more people are now staring at me and this woman shouting at me. I have to show her my recent photos and she accuses me of using another app. The train then pulls up and I tell her to piss off and she starts screaming pedo. I had to get off that train and wait for the next as she was following me shouting perv and pedo. I was lucky I didn't get my head kicked in thanks to her. Can you imagine what it feels like to have 50-odd people giving you disgusted and threatening looks thanks to a shit set of circumstance? Thanks for watching this video. Subscribe, press like, and comment if you are a woman. What will stop you from becoming a man? Good afternoon, good evening, and good night.